Welcome to the Onveos podcast, where we share actionable insights on web design, SEO, paid advertising, and AI automation. Each episode is focused on practical strategies you can apply immediately to build smarter systems, attract better traffic, and scale your business with confidence.
It is great to be here.
We spend a lot of time on this show talking about the what of business, what strategies to use, what channels, but today we're going deep. We're going into the how.
Yeah, the machinery.
Yeah.
The stuff that's actually going to run your business in 2026.
Exactly. We're calling this the battle for the stack.
And it really is a battle. I mean, if you look at the research we pulled for this deep dive, the entire landscape of automation has completely shifted. It's almost unrecognizable from just a couple of years ago.
It feels like we've gone from scarcity to just overwhelming abundance. A few years ago, you had Zapier, maybe Integromat, and that was about it.
That was it.
Now you have tools promising to replace your engineers, tools promising to replace marketers, tools promising, well, everything.
It's paralyzing for people. We talk about the paradox of choice, but in this space, it's actually dangerous. Picking the wrong platform now isn't just a lost subscription fee.
No, it's about technical debt.
It's all about technical debt.
Let's unpack that for a second, because I think people hear technical debt and they just think bad code. It's more than that, isn't it?
Oh, much more. In this context, it means you're building your entire business logic, your payroll, your lead gen, all your customer support on a foundation that might just crumble the second you try to scale.
Or one that becomes astronomically expensive the minute you start succeeding.
Right. So our mission today is to clear that fog. We're putting 5 heavy hitters into the ring. We're going to break down Gumloop, n8n, Make.com, Vellum, and Metaflow AI.
And we're going to be pretty ruthless about it.
The goal is simple. By the end of this deep dive, you should know exactly which platform fits your technical skills, your budget, and what you actually need to do.
Whether you're a solo marketer trying to scrape leads or an enterprise engineer building a massive data pipeline. Okay, let's start with the one that seems to be getting the most buzz from the non-coding crowd right now, Gumloop.
Gumloop is fascinating. They very aggressively position themselves as AI native.
AI native. Okay, that sounds a little bit like marketing fluff. What does that actually mean?
Well, it's a fundamental difference in design. A lot of the older tools, which we'll get to, they started as these logic engines, move data from A to B.
Triggers and actions.
Simple triggers and actions. And then later, they sort of slapped a generate text button on top to get in on the AI boom. But Gumloop was built around AI. It assumes from step one that you're trying to orchestrate intelligence, not just move rows in a spreadsheet.
And based on the sources, it looks like they're really aiming for that friendly interface crown. This is the tool for people who want automation without a computer science degree.
That's the key. They have this feature they call the Gummy Assistant. It's incredibly disarming. You literally just type, read this PDF invoice, find the total, and then put it in Slack.
And it builds the flow for you.
It just generates the notes. It lowers that barrier to entry down to almost zero.
But here's what really caught my eye. The sources mention a Chrome extension. Usually when we talk about enterprise automation, we're talking about servers and APIs in the cloud. Why is a browser extension a big deal?
This is a massive differentiator, especially for anyone in marketing or sales ops. Just think about your day. How many tools do you use that don't have a public API?
Or the API is locked behind some $50,000 enterprise plan.
Exactly. LinkedIn is the classic one. Or, legacy government sites. If you try to hit those with a standard server-based tool, you're blocked instantly.
You hit a wall.
You hit a wall. But Gumloop's Chrome extension allows for local browser automation.
So it's running on my machine?
It opens a tab in your browser, logged in as you, and clicks buttons just like a human would. You can open a page, scrape a list of leads, fill out a form, close the tab. It bridges that gap between the messy, chaotic web and your structured workflow.
That is a game changer for lead gen. It basically unlocks the whole internet, not just the parts with clean APIs.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's talk about the flip side. I'm a skeptic. What happens when I need to do something really specific that the pre-built blocks can't handle?
That's where they have the custom node builder. And this is where they try to bridge that gap for the power user.
Is this where the no-code promise kind of falls apart and I have to go learn Python?
Yes and no. It does involve code, specifically Python, but you don't necessarily have to write it. They have a text-to-code feature.
Okay.
You just describe what you want the node to do, like take this messy date and convert it to a standard European format. and Gumloop's AI writes the Python for you.
That sounds incredible, but there have to be limits. I can't just run a massive simulation inside one of these nodes, right?
You're right to be skeptical. There are some hard constraints. These custom nodes, they run in an isolated environment, a sandbox, and the documentation specifies a 5-minute runtime limit,
5 minutes.
which is actually pretty generous for a script. But it means you're not training a new AI model in there. And, crucially, it costs you.
Ah, the money. Let's talk pricing, because this is where people get stung.
Gumloop runs on a credit model. And this is a real double-edged sword. The solo plan is about $37 a month for 10,000 credits.
Sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot, but an AI task like asking an LLM to summarize something that might burn through a bunch of credits depending on how complex it is.
So if I have a workflow that runs every time I get an email, and I get 500 emails a day.
You could burn through your monthly allowance in a week. That's the warning label on Gumloop. It's fantastic for high-value, low-volume tasks. But for high-volume processing, the costs scale very, very aggressively.
You're paying a markup on the AI.
You are. And before we move on, there was one security thing you mentioned, automatic secret redaction. Is that a gimmick?
I was wondering about that.
No, it's a lifesaver. When you're dealing with automation, you're handling API keys all the time. The classic rookie mistake is printing those keys into a log file when you're debugging.
And then anyone with dashboard access has your Stripe keys.
Exactly. Gumloop automatically detects if a secret is about to be printed and just replaces it with secret redacted. It's a safety net that protects you from yourself.
Okay, so Gumloop is the shiny, accessible Apple option. But what if I'm an engineer? What if I want to get under the hood? What if I hate paying per credit?
Well, then you leave the Apple ecosystem and you go to Android.
Okay.
And that means we have to talk about n8n.
Pronounced n8n, the sources describe this one as the developer's powerhouse.
And that's a perfect way to put it. n8n is all about control. They call themselves fair code and source available.
What does source available actually mean for me, the user?
It means you can see the code, but more importantly, the killer feature here is self-hosting. Unlike Gumloop, which lives in their cloud, you can take n8n and install it on your own servers.
Why does that matter so much? Is it just about saving a few bucks on a subscription?
Cost is part of it for sure, but the real driver is data sovereignty. Imagine you're in healthcare dealing with HIPAA, or you're in Europe with GDPR, or finance needing SOC2 compliance. You often can't legally send customer data to a third-party cloud.
Because you lose control of that chain of custody.
Precisely. With NNI self-hosted, the data never leaves your infrastructure. It sits behind your firewall. For a lot of companies, this isn't a nice-to-have, it's a hard legal requirement.
That makes perfect sense. It's about owning the whole pipeline. But what about performance?
It's a beast for performance. They have this feature called Q mode.
Q mode. Sounds like waiting in line at the grocery store.
That's actually a great way to think about it. Imagine you launch some viral campaign and 10,000 people fill out your form in 1 minute. A standard tool might just choke and crash. There aren't enough cashiers. In Q mode, n8n uses Redis, which is a super-fast database, to hold all those requests in line. Then it spins up multiple worker instances to process them all in parallel.
So it opens up 10 more checkout lanes instantly.
Exactly. It scales horizontally. It's built for serious engineering throughput.
Okay, let's talk about the wallet again. How does the pricing compare to Gumloop's credit system?
This is a huge difference. Gumloop, as we said, charges by credits, where AI costs more. n8n charges by execution. And execution is one full run of a workflow, start to finish.
So if my workflow has 50 steps doing all this crazy logic, that's still just one execution.
That is one execution. And their starter plan is around $20 a month for 2,500 executions. But, and this is the big but, you have to bring your own intelligence.
Meaning I have to pay OpenAI separately.
Yes. n8n gives you the plumbing, you provide the water, you plug in your own OpenAI API key. This means n8n isn't marking up the AI cost, you pay the direct wholesale price. For heavy users, this is vastly cheaper.
So n8n is probably cheaper for high-volume, complex stuff, but you have to manage that complexity yourself.
The Reddit sources we dug into were pretty clear on this. n8n has a steeper learning curve. You need to understand JSON, a little bit of JavaScript. It doesn't hold your hand.
But once you know it,
you're invincible.
Okay, so we have the friendly interface and the developer's powerhouse. But we said at the top that 2026 is about agents, not just workflows.
Right. And that brings us to our next category, the battle of the agents. This is where Vellum and Metaflow AI come into play.
Let's start with Vellum AI. The outline calls it the bridge between no-code and pro-code. Why do we need a whole separate tool just for agents? Can't I build an agent in n8n?
You could try, but it's risky. See, the difference between a workflow and an agent is autonomy. A workflow follows a script. An agent reasons. And when software starts to reason, it can make mistakes. It can hallucinate.
Right.
Vellum is designed specifically to solve the evaluation problem. Think of it as a development environment just for large language models. And it solves this huge cultural fight that happens in dev teams. Engineers usually hate visual tools because they can't version control them. Vellum offers a hybrid approach.
How does that actually work?
It has a visual builder for the prompts, so a product manager can go in and tweak the AI's tone of voice without touching code. But it syncs to an SDK that lives in the actual code base. So engineers handle the hard logic in their editor, creatives handle the personality in the visual tool, and they don't overwrite each other.
That sounds like it would prevent a lot of arguments. But the biggest thing mentioned in the research was observability. That sounds like a buzzword. What does it mean for me?
It means watching the AI think, step by step. When you deploy an AI agent, you're terrified it's going to say something wrong or offensive to a customer. Vellum lets you run regression tests. You can say, here are 50 hard customer questions. Run the new prompt against all 50 and tell me if the answers got better or worse.
So you aren't just guessing. You're actually testing.
You are engineering reliability into something that is, by its nature, probabilistic. If Gumloop is for prototyping and n8n is for pipelines, Vellum is for making sure your AI agent doesn't embarrass you in public.
What about Metaflow AI? I saw the name Netflix pop up in the research.
Yeah, Metaflow was born at Netflix. This is the heavy artillery. It's designed for terabyte scale pipelines.
Terabyte scale. So we're not talking about automating a newsletter here.
No, this is for data science teams, for serious enterprise engineering. It's positioned as the tool for future-proof agent orchestration. If Vellum is about testing the agent's behavior, Metaflow is about the infrastructure that lets that agent run across thousands of servers without failing.
So if you're a startup, Metaflow is probably overkill.
Probably, yes. Unless your startup is, processing massive data sets from day one. It's for when you need that production-grade robustness.
Okay, before we get to the final decision matrix, we have to mention the old guard. Make.com, which used to be Integromat. Is it still relevant in 2026?
Oh, absolutely. Make.com is still the standard for what you might call business connectivity. If you just need to connect Slack to Google Sheets to Shopify, Make is fantastic. It has a library of over 2,000 integrations.
It's the glue of the internet.
It is. But the limitation, based on our sources, is that it's less AI native than Gumloop or Vellum, and it offers way less control than n8n. It's great for linear automation step A than step B.
But for complex AI agents that have to loop and reason?
It struggles. It becomes a spaghetti monster of wires very, very quickly.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. I want to bring this all together. Let's do a cheat sheet for the listener. I'm going to give you a persona. You tell me which tool they should pick.
That's it.
Persona 1. I'm in marketing or ops. I need to scrape lead data from websites that block me. I want to use AI right now without asking an engineer, and I have a budget for it.
Gumloop. It's the fastest path to value. That Chrome extension for scraping and the Gummy Assistant make it a no-brainer for non-technical teams who need AI now.
Persona 2. I'm technical. Or I have a dev team. I care deeply about data privacy, so I want to self-host. I hate paying per step, and I need complex logic and loops.
Without a doubt, self-hosting handles the privacy. The execution-based pricing is way better for complex loops, and you get the full control of code when you need it.
Persona 3. My main goal is building complex AI agents, not just simple scripts. I have to make sure they don't hallucinate, and I need my engineers and my product people to work on them together.
Vellum. That hybrid SDK and visual builder is made for that collaboration, and the observability features are non-negotiable for trusting an agent in production.
And finally, I just want to connect my standard business apps. I want to send a Slack message when a type form is submitted. No fancy AI agents, just reliable connections.
Make.com, don't over-engineer it. It has the biggest library of integrations, and it's visually intuitive for those linear tasks.
So what does this all mean for the future of our work? We started this by calling it a battle for the stack.
It all connects back to that shift we talked about, from automating tasks to orchestrating intelligence. A few years ago, the question was, how do I move data from A to B?
And now?
Now the question is, how do I build a system that can understand the data and make a decision?
The tools are definitely getting smarter, but it feels like they also demand more from us.
They do. They demand that you understand what you're building. You can't just plug things in blindly anymore. Whether you use Gumloop or n8n, you are designing a digital employee. You have to define its constraints, its permissions, its logic.
Which brings us to a final thought. There was this sentiment in the Reddit research that really struck me, this idea of fragility versus resilience.
Yes, and this is the thought I want to leave everyone with. The old way of automation was fragile. If an API changed a field name, your whole script crashed. Game over.
The nightmare scenario.
It is.
Yeah.
But we are moving toward a world where software doesn't just execute rules, it thinks. If you're building with these new tools, you're building resilient agents. An agent can see an error, reason its way through it, maybe try a different path, or at least notify a human with a smart suggestion.
So the choice of platform really determines which side of history you're on.
Exactly. Are you building fragile scripts that break, or are you building resilient agents that adapt? That is the real question for 2026.
That is a lot to think about. I think I need to go audit my own automation stack now.
It's probably a good idea for all of us.
Thank you for breaking all of this down. This has been a true deep dive into the machinery of 2026.
My pleasure.
And to our listener, thank you for tuning in to the On Veos podcast. If you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. We'll see you then.